Hello and welcome, and thanks for taking the time to join us today. This is going to be a great show that will give you a chance to see and hear from a number of the Baton team across multiple locations. It's the first time we've done a show like this, and I hope it really provides for you a chance to get a sense of who we are, what we do, and how we can help to solve some of the key issues around the safe and rapid movement of cash and securities in the capital market space. In a second, I'm going to ask Jerome Kemp to share some of his headline thoughts before then having the chance to talk to him in more detail later on in the show. We'll also be hearing from our CEO and founder, Arjun Jayaram, from our head of engineering, Mohammed Abidi, from Takadona, who's our head of business development and client success, as well as our head of operations in Chennai, Sonia Batija, and a few of her colleagues. Before that, I thought I might just take a minute or two to set the scene for you about what Baton's doing and why I think it's important. So a bit of context here. Prior to joining Baton in 2019, I'd worked for nearly 20 years in the markets business of one of the really large global banks. And over that time, like many of us, I became very familiar with some of the risks and challenges that the industry faces. And let's talk through them. So we have obviously management of settlement risk, a huge topic these days. We have operational costs that remained and still remain stubbornly high in the face of spread compression, and those costs often being passed back to business lines through allocations, which are really tough to anticipate, sometimes really tough to justify. Siloed legacy technology, often working on batch processes, no real access to real-time data. And these things together conspiring to restrict the ability of a business to grow and to become more profitable. So whilst I was still working at a bank, what really aroused my interest in Baton when I was still there was how they promised to deliver payments and settlement processes that are low latency, highly scalable, working with real-time data, allowing for real-time, almost immediate settlements, allowing firms to benefit from visibility and control in their settlements processes, eliminating settlement risk, optimizing funding, using the best elements of distributed ledger technology without being reliant on tokenization, and all of that wrapped together in a way that can be implemented in a realistic time frame without needing users to embark on wildly ambitious rip and replace projects. So please stay tuned to understand how we do this and how it can help your business. And now I'd like to kick off with Jerome Kemp, who's going to provide some opening words about the market in which Baton operates.
Thanks, Alex, for that great introduction, and thanks for inviting me to take a part of what I think is a super exciting event here today for Baton. Baton is really, the vanguard of what's happening in FX settlements, and I'm really happy to be a part of this adventure that Baton is taking us on. Let me, Alex, perhaps in a couple of minutes, just take you through, why I'm here today. I've always been fascinated by the fact that in markets, generally speaking, you can trade in micro, if not nanoseconds, but it could take a day, even a week, even longer to settle a trade. And I think that there's a basic disequilibrium in the market that needs to be addressed. And what attracts me to Baton is really the fact that Baton has is taking the initiative and is bringing to the market technology that allows to significantly close this gap, namely by the use of distributed ledger technology. I think this becomes all the more important, Alex, because over the past year, we've lived in very much real time the impact of just unprecedented volatility in virtually every asset class that we trade. FX in particular, I think, has really sort of stepped up to the front of the scene here, just because of the numbers and the just absolute massive amount of settlement risk that has always been considered to be a natural outcome or sort of necessary evil of the market. The FX markets in the past obviously have taken the steps to minimize the amount of that settlement exposure. CLS's the introduction of PVP, payment versus payment by CLS, years ago, had a very positive impact there. But over the past couple of years, we've seen an inversion of the amount of actual trade volume that is actually benefiting from PVP. With the uptick in trading across major emerging currencies like Chinese renminbi, Indian rupees, and Russian rubles, the actual amount of PVP protection through CLS is declining. At the end of 2019, I believe it was around 40%, down a full 10% from where it was in 2016 when the BIS did its triennial surveys. So I think that that is very much a wake-up call, and I think it is a wake-up call, Alex, because there's only so much I think risk tolerance that exists in markets. I think if anything, back in March, screens were flashing red in every CRO's office around the world, and not only in CRO offices, but at regulators and indeed with national governments as well, realizing that the capacity or the ability for markets and their participants to essentially live with this amount of risk, into the next crisis, and Alex, you and I know that there will be a next crisis, is something that needs to be addressed with a high degree of urgency today. So I think we've got a great program planned here today, and I'll be coming back a bit later in the show, Alex, to have a discussion with you. I'm really looking forward to all of this, but I do think that today's outreach, today's program is really a call to action. It's a clarion call to all market participants, whether you're a trader, whether you're a clearer, whether you're a regulator, a risk manager, to start to pay much closer attention, not only to the overall topology of risk that is generated by trading activity on a daily basis, but also the opportunities that technologies that Baton is bringing to market, actually mean in terms of bringing our ability to manage risk much more dynamically, very firmly into the 21st century. So, Alex, with that, I think I'll hand it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerome, for setting out those headlines, and we'll go through some of those in more detail later in the show. Now I'd like to hand you over to Arjun Jayaram, our CEO and founder, who's going to give us a company update. Arjun?
Thank you, Alex. I'm Arjun. I'm the founder and CEO of Baton Systems. Thought I'll give you a quick update of where we are on our product, the second one on the company update, and how we see the product and the company evolving for the second half of 2021 and going into 2022. On the product side, we have two products that are live in production, and we are actively working on the third one. Specifically, the first product that we have is what we call the cleared collateral product. The second one is an FX PVP interbank settlements with settlement finality. The third one that we are actively working on is intraday liquidity management for a large bank. Let's talk about each one of them. The first one on the cleared collateral product, what we do is we connect up to the CCPs on one side, and the second is we connect up to the custody banks. This is what we offer to an FCM. So an FCM is able to see their exposures and obligations to a CCP. They're also able to see their assets in real time across custody banks. And then we move collateral and cash from the FCMs to the CCPs, a process that used to take 12 to 16 hours. We are able to do this consistently in under 3 minutes. Again, we have many banks that are using this today, and we actively move anywhere from about $4 to $8 billion today with just the FCMs, just the CCPs that are live with the FCMs that are live today. We envision that going into 2021, towards the end of 2021, we will have 12 of the top CCPs live on the platform. And we also think that by end of 2021, we will have about 40% of the global margins moved in the cleared collateral space will be on Baton. Very thankful to our customers for trusting us with such a large responsibility. We continue to offer more features and more analytics on top of what we offer today. Moving on to the next one, which is the FX PVP. We're very excited about this product. We are now testing a true interbank FX PVP. The first one was what we did is we solved this particular problem for a very large global bank where we had multiple legal entities of the bank actively settling using Baton on a PVP basis. This was not possible before. A process that used to take anywhere from from 1 to 2 days of pre-funding, we are able to do this in under 3 minutes, moving real money in real bank account with settlement finality in a true PVP manner. We settle about 18 currencies. We settle 18 currencies today, and on any given day, between 80 to 100,000 trades. These are FX trades. It could be spots, forwards, swaps that are actively settled on the platform. We are now enhancing that product, and we are truly building out the FX PVP network. This is something that is a big problem, as BIS has indicated. There's a big problem on doing a true PVP FX settlements, especially in non-CLS eligible currencies. We're very thankful to our customers for actually testing the Baton platform, and we hope we will be able to solve a big problem in the industry today. Moving on to the company update, I've been very careful about bringing in people just in time. It's always important in a startup that we bring in the right people, and we bring in the people to work on the right problems. So today we are over 50 people. I believe we are about 52 people. By June of this year, we expect that to be about 60 people. And we are investing a lot of time and money in making sure that we have a true global support organization and focusing a lot on information security and having a dedicated track for information security. I'll talk about that in a bit. The first one is on the global support. We are now offering true 24/6. We are able to extend that to 24/7 when we have customers in the Middle East as well, where the weekends are slightly off. We will be able to offer a true 24/7 global support for all our customers. Moving on to the information security, very happy that this is the second year in continuously that we will be truly a SOC 2 Type 2 certified company. Specifically, we have an architecture that we offer to the customers, which is called a single tenant architecture, which means that Bank One's data infrastructure is going to be very different, not sharing any of the machines, any of the data boundaries, no sharing of data, with separate security policies from Bank 2. And that is very important. And each one scales independent of the other. And we have to have different security policies, different DR testing, BCP testing for each customer. We are now offer that out of the box for all customers. And we have dedicated teams that are looking at not just CI/CD pipeline, that's continuous integration, continuous delivery, but also making sure that we truly run through a series of vulnerability testing, penetration testing, business continuity, disaster recovery for every customer. We are able to provide a lot of governance reports on every monthly basis for all our customers. Again, we believe that when we're going to be market infrastructure, we will be the market infrastructure for doing securities and cash settlements. And for that, you need an infrastructure such as this and a governance body such as what we're doing. We are investing a lot in that today. We also are a VC-funded company. We have Trinity Ventures, Alsop Louis, and Illuminate Financials. Specifically Mark Beeston, Gilman Louis, and Schwach, who are members of my board along with me. Very happy that we are well funded. We are executing. We are heads down, executing on what we have in front of us. We are having a lot of interest from VC community as well as from banks to invest in it. We will look at it in the right time. Right now it is about executing what we have in front of us. So in going into 2021. The rest of 2021, like I told you, our focus in 2020 was to focus only on the tier 1 banks. And not because the tier 1, tier 2s were not important, or the tier 3s were not important, or corporate clients were not important. It is that we thought that when you focus on the tier 1 banks, we would be able to get deep into their systems. We would get deep into the CCPs, all the market infrastructure, so that we can move assets on demand. And specifically, we targeted only the top 20 institutions. And very happy that 8 of them are on the platform. Moving into the rest of the year, I expect that to be about 11. And when I say 11, these are truly integrated into their trading systems, into their payment gateways, into their custody banks. And now we offer a whole bunch of payment strategies. Let me talk a little bit about that. As we started offering our solutions and people started seeing the true power of having programmatically moving their assets. First is real-time visibilities of their assets, and then having different strategies to move those assets. This could be a different netting strategy. Why should I net it all at the end of the day? I want to net it on demand based on certain criteria, based on the strength of my balance sheet, based on how much risk I want. So we call it a series of netting strategies. And the second one is a series of payment strategies. You're talking about a global bank that has 60 different currencies that they settle in and various types of securities. And these are truly global in nature with hard cutoff times between central banks and CSDs. These are complex problems to solve. And so now you need to manage your intraday liquidity. You manage your risk in a very, very systematic manner. And you want to do this in a programmatic manner. And that is what we call a series of programmable strategies that we offer both for netting as well as for payments. Specifically on the payments, we are offered things like splitting a payment, splitting a large payment into smaller payments all through the day. And the second one is conditional payments. I want to make payments in one market subject to receiving payments in another markets. These are the real world scenarios that we hit with our customers. And we continue to expand that. And the next natural extension for that would be what we call payment analytics, along with insights into this. So you have predictability into your cash flows all through the day. These are real world problems that our customers expose these problems to us. And we're very thankful for the opportunity that we have from our largest customers. Our customers have continued to be our biggest champions. They have helped shape our product roadmap, and we wouldn't be here without them. So very thankful to all our customers. And hopefully we'll be able to offer our solutions to the clients of our clients. So that's our next strategy. That is, the clients of our tier 1 banks would be the tier 2s as well as corporate customers. And tier 2 doesn't mean they are less important. It is just that they are clients of our large banks. They are the clients of our prime brokers. And so we'll be able to offer our solutions, and so that the clients of our clients will be able to manage their balance sheets, manage their risk in a much better fashion. So going into 2022, we expect that we will be able to expand our customer base and expand our product offering for the clients of our clients. So we're very excited about our opportunities and our possibilities here. Again, thank you very much. Over to you, Alex.
Arjun, thank you for that. A really clear explanation of where Baton stands. Now, I'd like to introduce you all to our next contributor, Mohammed Abidi. He's our lead engineer at Baton, and he's going to introduce you to our technology, the thing that really powers Baton's services. Mo?
Thank you, Alex. I'm Mohammed Abdi. I lead engineering at Baton Systems. Baton platform is made up of a set of microservices that scale independently of each other to based on the load and the traffic of different events that the system is going through. Three of the main components of these services are a clearing and settlement gateway, shared permission ledger, and workflow. Now, the platform does not require conversion to any digital tokens or cryptocurrency. The platform works on native assets. The way it does is by connecting to the financial institution ledgers via the clearing and settlement gateway. The business processes that a particular transaction goes through is represented by the workflow. Workflow is similar to the smart contracts that you have on other DLTs. All these state changes are recorded in a immutable fashion onto the shared permission ledger. We'll cover the shared permission ledger a little bit later in the presentation. The workflow itself has two modes: the public steps and the private steps. The public steps are the steps that are shared between the two participants of a transaction. Private steps are particular to a node or a participant. An example of a private step could be an approval that's required over a certain threshold. Now, going over to maybe discuss a little bit some of the other higher level components. We talked about the gateway component already and the ledger. Some of the other things some of the other services that the Baton platform has is a way of aggregating the trades or events that are coming in, and then having a rule engine to assess exactly what the state is. And you can have defined thresholds, or you can have time of day events that are defined. So it'll assess based on that and then initiate workflows or activate based on those. The activation step is a set of workflows that execute across nodes to help us settle assets or payments. Finally, going over to discussing a little bit more about the DLT or ledger constructs. A trade goes through from initialization to completion a set of states. These are dependent upon how a workflow or the steps that are going through the workflow engine is triggering or going through. Now, all these states are saved into the shared permission ledger in an immutable fashion. The ledger can have multiple subscribers to it, which can both be internal or external customers. Internal, it could be other internal systems, and for externals, it could be observer or third parties like regulatory bodies that you can have these. Think of ledger as a materialized view, and which is based on permissions. Finally, going through the last one about talking about operational considerations that the Baton platform offers. Baton platform is SOC 2 compliant. So we have well-documented processes which cover security, business processes in terms of change management, disaster recovery, and business continuity. We have a dedicated InfoSec program with the external partner, which runs monthly vulnerability tests. We review the findings and have regular issues that are getting fixed based on cadence of if they're medium or low priority. We have a cadence to kind of fix them. And then we also have external penetration tests that that run every quarter and go through the same cadence. When we find an issue, we fix them expeditiously. Finally, we also monitor all our production environments very actively. We are using a SIM to monitor both the network, the compute, and the application to detect any anomalies and then alert based on those. We regularly run business continuity and disaster recovery plans, making sure that we are ready for any downtime that might occur. Since we support our customers globally, this is important to us that we can provide as much of an SLA as possible. We do monthly business reviews with our customers, where we review the SLAs that our system is providing, the capacity the system has, and any of the features that we have implemented and future upcoming features. We work closely with our customers to kind of prioritize and work on any of the features. We also offer training on the platform for any of the new features that we develop. We also offer training on that. Thank you. That's all I had to cover. Over to you, Alex, now.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for that, Mo. Now, to give us a walkthrough of the platform itself, let me introduce you to Tucker Donor. He's our Head of Business Development and Client Success. Tucker, over to you.
Thank you, Alex. My name is Tucker Donor, and I run Business Development and Client Success at Baton. Today, I'm going to demonstrate Baton's real-time PvP settlement process for FX transactions. Our settlement process uses real accounts and real money with no tokens involved. The Baton settlement process can be reduced to as little as 3 minutes. By shortening that cycle, we dramatically reduce settlement risk and funding costs. What I'm going to show you today is only one element of our settlement process, and we would love to show you more one-on-one. Baton's process relies on both parties using Baton's shared permission ledger and workflow. The Baton shared permission ledger is legally supported by a rulebook, which provides for settlement finality and certainty. Now on to the demo. I will be acting as party A, and we have started on the Trades tab, which you can see on the ribbon at the bottom. From the ribbon, we can navigate to other tabs to manage Bank A's counterparties or users, and view reports or the ledger of activity. But for now, we are currently viewing today's trades on a gross basis. From this screen, if you're interested in settling a single transaction, we could initiate that settlement here. Flipping over to the net view now, we can see the status of how transactions will typically be settled on a net basis. Baton nets and settles on a currency pair basis. Each netting group you see is a unique currency pair, value date, and counterparty combination. Baton receives information from both counterparties and also from trade matching services and ensure all sides match. if we filter on Bank B, you will see netting groups that remain unconfirmed facing Bank B. If you are interested in seeing the individual trades making up a currency pair netting group, we can easily view those details by clicking on the trade count, 112 in this case. From the individual trade screen, you have the option to exclude trades by clicking the X on the far left. Those trades would then be removed from this netting group and could be settled separately on a gross basis. Back on the net screen, we will now initiate a few settlements. Baton has multiple options for initiating settlements. Auto Settle can use either time-based or threshold-based triggers to initiate settlements. That's typically how banks would settle on the Baton platform. But today, we will demonstrate manually settling a netting group. We will start with this group of 112 Aussie dollar trades facing Bank B. We will select that netting group, then choose Manually Settle. On the next screen, we confirm that we really do in fact want to settle this netting group. As you can see, the 112 trade netting group has now moved from the top of the screen to the bottom in the confirmed netting group section. If we view the settlement status of that netting group, we can see the netting group start to settle. First, each of the banks will pay in their respective currency to the settlement account. Once that occurs, you will see official ownership change. This is final and irrevocable and supported by the Baton PVP rulebook. After the ownership change, each bank can then withdraw their proceeds from the settlement account into their individual funding accounts. We see this settlement has completed, taking approximately 3 minutes. Next, I will demonstrate how to split a settlement. This allows a participant to take a large settlement, like this 200 mil sterling netting group, and break it down into smaller individual payments. We will split the settlement into 4 payments and then confirm. This netting group now drops down into the Confirm Netting Group section and is listed with 4 shapes. Now, by viewing the settlement, we can see each individual leg start to settle. We are now going to look at this settlement from Bank B's perspective. On Bank B's ledger, we can see the same 4 payments, simply in the opposite direction. The settlement has been initiated. Upon clicking into the first payment, you can see both parties have paid into the settlement account, and the official ownership change has occurred. When looking at the ledgers for both parties at the same time, we see the statuses were updated at the exact same time on both ledgers. If we refresh, we can see that each leg has now settled. Another great feature of the Baton platform, if you're interested in seeing SWIFT details supporting any individual settlement, you can click on the specific settlement and see those SWIFT details on screen. Back on the Confirm Netting Group screen, the entire group has now completed. One additional item I would like to show today, by navigating to the ledger on the bottom ribbon, we can see a helpful summary of all actions that have been initiated by the Baton Shared Permission Ledger. We hope today's demo was helpful to better understand the Baton PVP process for FX transactions.
Thank you, Tucker, for those great insights. Great demo. Thank you for doing that. Now we're joined by Sonia Batija. She's our head of operations at Baton in Chennai. Sonia, hi. Can you tell us how we're expanding the team right now?
Hi, Alex. Thank you. It's great being here. Hello, everybody. I'm Sonia Batija from Baton Systems, and I'm here to talk about India expansion plans for Baton and how we propose to set up our support organization and the culture that we want to imbibe in as a whole. And this is why I'm here today. The overall talent domain has transformed so much thanks to the adoption of technology over this pandemic. Today, our interview processes are virtual using various tools like Google Meet and Zoom and things like that. Our campus recruitment drives have been virtual, and onboarding employees through gamification of talent. We've been working with various companies, and it's been a very interesting experience the whole of last year in trying to get people. And we have a very large target, larger than what we had for the last year. And we hope that we are going to be able to meet this target. And to do that, our strategy and our focus has been to lay out a very strong foundation with the talent community and our business. We are looking to onboard diverse talent and not just traditional lateral hires. Now, when we say that, the philosophy of our business has always been that the business of hiring is everyone's business and not just HR's responsibility. Our business leaders accept this accountability, our employees take charge, get involved, and our candidates that we talk to are also held accountable by our various unique filtering processes. Before the pandemic, we allowed our employees to work from home 2 to 4 days a month. When the lockdown hit in March 2020, we shifted to working from home within 3 days. The transition to all employees working from home was seamless, as we had the infrastructure and the culture to work from home. As an organization, overnight, we moved from agile to distributed agile, or next-gen agile is what I like to call it, because this agility has not come in just in the way we deliver software or from the location where we deliver it. This agility is in organization-wide thinking, in the employee thinking and our leadership thinking. Our thought processes have changed. The biggest one that we see here is that we are now willing to experiment with various new ideas and new situations during this pandemic. We hope that this trend and culture will continue in the years to come. So Baton needs employees who are more agile in the future, people saying, yes, I can, rather than challenging every innovative idea that's brought up. Sometimes the idea may be ridiculous as well, but then we have seen that ridiculous ideas have brought in very good results in the past. We consciously talk about and try to imbibe a culture of inclusivity and diversity, and while we focus on moving to a sense of ownership and belonging. We just don't want to focus on diversity in terms of departments or in terms of the different states that people work with us, or gender neutrality, not just diversity and inclusivity in that sense, but we want to move to a culture of ownership and belonging. And when we say inclusion, we want the right set of talent in various ways, and this talent at every level will be included in the decision-making process at every level. Whether it's a process decision, whether it's a product level decision, that is the kind of ownership that we want to provide employees who are going to join us. So we get the sense of belonging when somebody who joins Baton feels that Baton belongs to you and you belong to Baton. This sense of belonging drives an organization, the success of the organization and the kind of targets that we are looking and the products that we are looking to build. Right? So this has been my focus on hiring, and this will continue to be my focus in 2021. And the other thing that I've been talking about or focusing on is creating a unique or an independent support organization for Baton Systems. And when I say unique and independent, we focus more on the experience that our customers have rather than providing a service day on day or hour on hour. So we have round-the-clock support that has been set up via multiple channels. Our customers can contact us through phone, chat, email, service desk, and various other channels that have been set up. And we focus on process improvement on a daily basis when it comes to creating an effective support team. We accept input. We take feedback from our customers on a regular basis to understand how we can analyze the issues that have cropped up, categorize them, and see how we can eliminate those in the future. So we look at continuous improvement in that sense. Our engineers are very adept at creating very different scripts, troubleshooting techniques to help our customers get a seamless experience and early solving of issues. We believe here that customer support teams are the face of the company. They play a crucial role interacting with our customers, working side by side with our product teams to understand the newer features that are being developed on a daily basis, and have a seat at the table when it comes to company decision making. So we believe that this culture will help us provide a support experience like never before. Our support team will allow our core product functions to focus on building the next gen products and features that we aspire and have the vision for. At this point, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to let some of my colleagues from India introduce themselves, and I'm pretty excited that you're going to meet some of them and the way we work here.
Hi, I'm Napoleon. I work as the application support lead at Baton Systems. Our team is the first point of contact for our customers. We handle support for both the FX and collateral products. Our work allows the rest of the product organization to focus on building and improving our products. We are always looking to add more talent to be part of our team. The best part of working in Baton Systems is getting the opportunity to learn more and the autonomy to make decisions on our own. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is Kritika. As of now, I am based on Coimbatore. I mainly work on the collateral product as a software development engineer, and I'm associated with Baton for more than 2 exciting years now. I've got a wholesome environment here to evolve and grow, and moreover as an individual, I'm always being respected and heard. I'm always happy to be part of this vibrant team.
This is Ashwin. I work as a quality assurance engineer at Baton Systems. I've been with Baton for the past 3 years. The company provides a great opportunity to learn and grow along with the company. A company like Baton, basically a startup, deals with the major financial institutions across the world and help it moving assets at a rapid pace. This was probably one of the main take behind me joining Baton, and I'm learning as well as growing along with the company. Thank you.
My name is Jitin, and I work on the user interface of one of the products of Baton Systems. I'm really proud that I'm a part of the change that Baton Systems is bringing in the payments and settlement space.
Thank you, team, for introducing yourself and talking about Baton today. And thank you, Alex, for giving us this opportunity to talk about India expansion plans and about the support culture and the organization that we're targeting to build in 2021. Over to you.
Sonia, thank you very much. That was fascinating. I'm thrilled to be joined again by Jerome Kemp, Baton's Senior Advisor. Jerome, earlier on in our piece, you spoke about the sort of impending revolution, a real drive for change. And I guess as a veteran of the industry, and perhaps we both are in different degrees, I'm just interested to sort of get a sense, do you think there's something that's changed that means we're more likely to see people adopting new technologies and new processes now than we have in the past? We've had a few false dawns. Just wondering what you think might have changed.
I think a lot has changed, actually, Alex, and I think it's a fascinating question. I mean, both of us come from the investment banking backgrounds, and I guess that we are bound by limitations relative to budget, et cetera. I think that really now, for the first time, given that over the past 10 years we've lived through arguably 4 or 5 major Six Sigma type of events or 9 Sigma events in the market, that the actual amount or the quantum of risk that is in circulation on a daily basis, the amount of risk that we as FX traders, as prime brokers, as clearers, live with on a daily basis, has just gotten to a point where we need to do something about it. There's only so much that we can sort of perfect our risk models without starting to, take on the challenge of the technology that underpins, our ability to settle a trade. I think it's interesting to think about, FX, for instance, along a couple of parameters. You've got, the parameter of the absolute quantum of risk that one undertakes in trading. The amount of liquidity in the market, and I guess let's say the cost of funding. So focusing on the risk parameter, I think what Baton is demonstrating to us, and this is quite interesting, is that we do have a much better understanding of technologies that can help us actually have a significant impact on those settlement cycles. I think before we simply admitted that we don't control time, and so we have to live with the systems that exist in order to enable us. Sorry, thing just fell out of my ear. We have to live with systems that are in place. We really didn't question the nature of the overall systems that were supporting these daily processes, and Baton has actually allowed us to step up to challenge the sacred cows of the industry, and I think that's super important. Why are we doing it now? Because the numbers are massive. Alex, I think you and I, we've spoken many times about this. On a daily basis, there are close to $9 trillion worth of trades in the FX markets that are not benefiting from PVP. And that's a 2019 number. That's the BIS data that I'm just quoting to you. And those are big numbers. As an aside, in clear derivatives from January of 2020 to March of 2020, the overall initial margin held by clearers grew by over 48%. I mean, to $850 billion. That's a massive amount of growth in that overall exposure that, again, settles on a 24-hour cycle. So essentially, you go to bed with, that overnight exposure. Something needs to be done about that. We need to be able to sort of, collapse, the time frames in order to essentially, on the one hand, better, channel that risk, ensure that obligations are being met. But also, I think, and this is where it even gets more interesting in my view, arguably to give much better flexibility to market participants in the terms of they manage their liquidity on a daily basis, and how they think about their sources of funding for the various currencies that they're active in. So I think coming back to your original question, why now as opposed to why in the past? Because I think there is a confluence of events. There are very big numbers in play right now, and I think they're only going to grow. I also believe that there are considerations around balance sheet, which are driven by these much bigger numbers, as well as capital that are coming into play as well. And again, the capital and balance sheet constraints, in my view, are only going to become more significant as these emerging markets take on even more significance in our daily trading and money management activities. And so it really is incumbent upon the industry to take the steps in the appropriate direction to work with technologies such as the ones that Baton is developing to essentially create much safer, secure, and much more controlled trading and settlement environments.
That's great. Thank you, Jerome. I think that's really helpful. I have a second question for you, and it relates to the process around taking a decision, getting budgetary approval, getting consensus at a large bank. We all know that's a real challenge these days, and justifiably so, I guess, in many ways. Firms want to make sure they're spending their time and efforts in the right sort of direction. For a project that thinks about something as fundamental as settlement processes and settlement risk, how do you think a leader can look at this and think about how they can achieve consensus and evaluate the possible benefits of a solution in order to get sort of progress and start moving forwards?
Yeah, Alex, it's a very interesting question, and it's one that that I've grappled with over the course of my career, and I really do think it comes down to the essential, sort of what if I'm talking with a vendor about a new process, a new platform, a new protocol. One of my first questions is, well, how disruptive is this going to be from what I do today? Because there's always this playoff between disrupting an existing environment for a better outcome or not. And I think, therefore, that if the vendor is able to say to me, okay, well, we're not actually looking to reinvent the wheel for you guys in terms of disrupting everything you do, in terms of the APIs you leverage today, in terms of the protocols perhaps you leverage in terms of satisfying payments, but instead we're going to essentially work within those structures to improve the overall performance of what you do today. That's when I start really listening, quite attentively. I think, again, one of the things that is is quite interesting, and I think is quite determinant in terms of deciding whether to go forward with an initiative, is the ability to do a proof of concept and what we could actually see come out of that proof of concept. So, for instance, with Baton's platform, if I'm told that I can take a settlement cycle from 24 hours down to 3 minutes, again, I'm listening quite clearly. And if I'm told, for instance, that in 3 months I'll be able to essentially see this claim actually validated, then again I'm listening quite clearly and quite attentively. And so I think that those are the types of things. I think what we hate in investment banking in particular is boiling the ocean in order to essentially achieve a new normal. I think we like to achieve our new normals through evolutive processes and ones that do not overly disrupt the status quo. So if I can work within the broader, call them constraints of the APIs that I leverage today in terms of the payment protocols that I use today, but I'm able to take better control of the overall process by, for instance, leveraging distributed ledger technology, being able to essentially myself take control of what thresholds actually trigger a settlement and at what frequency. Then I think that those appear to me to be achievable goals within a manageable time frame, and assuming that clearly the cost factor is one that is easily agreed or manageable, then I think that that's something that resonates or should resonate quite loudly with a potential adopter, or I would even call them a leader in this space, because at the end of the day, this is really a leadership question, Alex. I mean, we all know that this risk agenda is only going to become more and more of a constraint, and therefore there's even more of a motivation to work with providers to define a solution. So I would call that as we're and I called it the vanguard earlier, but working with the vanguard are leaders that are going to essentially support these efforts, test these hypotheses around the application of these new technologies to take us to a much different and arguably much more secure and empowered space in settlement.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting the way you say that, Jerome. And certainly the observations that I've made have been, maybe you can sort of comment on these, sort of setting a set of success criteria that are well defined and constrained, not letting the perfect get in the way of the good, and just thinking about definable steps where you can evaluate a solution really carefully and see the results.
Yeah, but something, Alex, I think it's interesting you say perfect and good. I think it's not that difficult given the general state of technology that we work with today to have something that is just light years beyond where we are without being anywhere close to so-called nirvana or perfection. I mean, today, Alex, however you cut it, we are essentially working with batch-based, server-based batch cycles, which function on 24-hour time frames, which essentially cause anyone who is in the process, who is in the business of settling trades to ramp up a certain amount of settlement exposure on the balance sheet and essentially live with that overnight. The other thing, and I think this is something that we really haven't spoken about, is that around all of these processes, because they are so fragmented and disjointed, you literally have armies of people, trade checkers and middle office staff and back office staff who are constantly chasing down trades, reconciling trades, investigating breaks, and again, this is a major driver of a telescopic effect of being able to reach settlement on a very large base of underlying assets. So I do think that because the industry has been, call it, if you'll excuse the phrase, somewhat with its head in the sand, waking up to what is available in the market today in terms of the technologies that can be, brought to the fore in terms of addressing issues around broader settlement exposure issues, getting from, bad to good or bad to near perfect is really not that much of a stretch.
So, Jerome, another point I wanted to raise with you was the fact that within the capital markets businesses, there's a tremendous amount of sort of siloing of business technology. One desk, one business will be perhaps trading the same products as another. Certainly cash, of course, is an element for almost every desk. And yet, for perhaps legacy reasons, they're using siloed technology and siloed reporting and siloed processing. So I guess my question to you is this. Do you think it's vital that these silos are broken down as a first step, or is that sort of a natural evolution that will come with the implementation of new processes and new technology?
I think that the breaking down of those silos, Alex, is already something that's very much in process today. I think both you and I have seen it over the course of our careers, in the banking industry. Today, I don't think that you can, be a salesperson in FX without talking about, credit markets, without talking about equity markets, without talking about futures markets, et cetera. Everything is very much interrelated, interconnected. And indeed, trading desks at major banks are now sort of, blurring those lines between the asset classes themselves, and very much focused on offering that multi-asset, coverage to clients. It's interesting that really has not sort of fully sort of flown over to the settlement side of the equation. And I think it's because we're very much, in need of validating, our assumptions about what can be achieved with at least, one asset class for starters. But I would argue, given, what we know today, Alex, that the validation of, the applicability of distributed ledger technology to FX settlement, for instance, whether you're talking about, between counterparties or even internally, for settling amongst, various Nostro accounts in a much larger sort of investment bank, trading organization, we get the validation there that, this is possible, it does work, it does produce very meaningful results. Then those same principles can be ported over, obviously with changes depending on the underlying, trading asset to other areas. I think, let's get the validation in FX. It's already, happening today. Baton is already working with, almost a dozen, clients who are either testing or have adopted, Baton's technology. So we're getting a good validation point that this technology, does deliver. Could it, for instance, and this is an area obviously that's very close to my heart, could it be applied to settlement in clear derivatives? Arguably a bit more complex, just given the vast number of futures and options contracts and swaps that clear on a daily basis, and the amount of fragmentation that exists, across market participants. But again, I think the same principles, could be applied, and I think it's a natural progression of what Baton is working on today in the FX space, for it to eventually branch out to look at what can be done in clear derivatives, and even in the cash space for that matter. I mean the possibility.
Yeah, and I suppose when I think about this, I think about the the cash legs of all sorts of different transactions that are currently, in many cases, being settled through distinct settlement channels, even collateral versus a settlement, being settled through a distinct channel. And it would just make sense to me to sort of pull all of that together and have netted settlements where possible.
Yeah, agree. I think that's the journey we're on, and it's timely and it's exciting.
That's great, Jerome. Thank you very much indeed for those thoughts. Very interesting.
Thank you, Alex.
That's great. Well, it's certainly a very clear message, Jerome. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciated. I think what we should do now is hand over to the Q&A session, if that's all right. So thanks everybody who's attended today's Baton showcase. I think we've seen some really interesting insights from all of the team. And now I'd like to bring Mohammed and Tucker back onto the stage so that we can ask some questions that have come from the audience. Mohammed and Tucker, welcome back. Thanks for rejoining. I enjoyed your presentations. I'm sure the audience did too, certainly judging by the questions we've had in. They've aroused a lot of interest. What I'd like to do is to read out to you a couple of the questions that have come in. I think this first one is probably for Tucker. Tucker, we've had a question come in regarding Baton's 90-day methodology. I know you've had some direct experience with that. Perhaps you can talk us through that very briefly, if you don't mind.
Well, we hope today's demo was helpful. We understand that the FX settlement process is complex, and settling via Baton is both different and new. Taking the lead from one of our clients, Baton has developed a 90-day methodology for testing out our platform. We envision the first part of that 90-day process is sending in trade activity and watching how it settles on the Baton platform. The second part of that 90-day process will allow the client to compare the Baton settlement process versus their current methodologies. We feel this could be very beneficial for learning the Baton settlement process over the course of the full 90 days.
That's great. Thank you, Tucker. And certainly I was closely involved in, certainly, from a secondary perspective, listening to how that 90-day process went with one of our existing customers. It was fascinating to see. So that's really good. Second question, probably also for you, Tucker. We talk about 3-minute settlement cycles. Just want to quickly ask you to validate. Can we really settle in 3 minutes? Is the question that's come from the audience.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. The short answer is yes, absolutely. You can shorten the settlement cycle to 3 minutes. To be clear, when we talk about 3 minutes, we're talking about the time from when your paying currency leaves your funding account to when you receive your secondary currency coming back into that funding account. That process can be shortened to 3 minutes. And what that does is dramatically reduces your overall funding costs. And we feel that 3-minute time frame is much, much shorter than other industry options out there today. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Tucker. Good answer. The next question, maybe Mo, you can take this one. Perhaps one of you, or perhaps Mo, you can explain what happens if one party doesn't or isn't able to send in the funds required for their settlement obligations.
Thanks, Alex. The settlement will not happen, right? There cannot be unintended settlements that will happen. The change of ownership event on the Baton platform is an atomic transaction. So it requires, for PVP transactions, it requires both funds to be present.
Great. Thank you, Mo. Another question maybe for you, Mo, is from the audience asking you about scalability and hardware. Can you sort of touch on that for a second, if you don't mind?
Sure, Alex. The Baton platform is built as a set of microservices which scale independently based on the load that's on the system and the volume of transactions that are going on. The platform itself is hosted as is on Kubernetes cluster. So anywhere we can have virtualization can be deployed on top of that infrastructure.
Great. Very good. Very good. Probably time for one last question, which is, I think the one to ask here is about netting and payment strategies. So again, we refer a lot to the netting and payment strategies that we support. Maybe a final word about each of those, their importance and their relevance. Maybe you'd like to split that between the two of you, one of you on netting and the other of you on payments.
Yeah, sure. Mo, how about I take netting and then throw it over to you for payments? So related to netting, as you saw in today's demo, Baton has the ability to settle either gross or settle net. Baton aims to be as flexible as possible. So if you're looking to settle one transaction gross and the rest of your transactions in a given currency pair net, you have the ability to do that. Mo, over to you for payment strategies.
Sure. In a similar vein, the platform provides a lot of capability in terms of how do you make payments. You can make payments based on thresholds. You can make payments based on frequency, time of the day. You can also have strategies for different counterparties and different asset pairs. So you can have customizations based on all these criteria.
That's great. Very good. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Tucker. Thank you both. So that brings today's session to a close, and I'd like to thank everyone for their valuable time and contribution to understanding Baton's offering and the opportunities for change in the FX settlement space. But just before leaving, I'd like to highlight one thing, which is our 90-day methodology, which we referenced during the show. This really provides an opportunity for our customers to evaluate the impact of the Baton workflow alongside their existing processes, particularly focusing on areas like netting strategies and payment strategies, allowing you to determine the impact of our solution on your key business metrics. I'll try and explain a little bit more. The first 30 days of this process are dedicated to an exploration of our platform within the context of your business. It's simple, it requires no specific integration, it's light on documentation, and it's inexpensive. And really importantly, it lays the groundwork for a full implementation. The next 60 days are focused on building the core integrations, which typically include things like the data pipes and normalization, API integration, integration to payment gateway layers, and the setup of the settlement accounts and the SSI management. We've found that this 90-day approach really resonates with customers, and it's a fantastic way to kick off a project, providing clarity of purpose and a clear pathway to success. So on that note, thanks again for your time. Please do tune in again in May, where we'll be taking a closer look at this exciting area for technology change within financial markets. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.